Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and today I'll be talking about two books that I recently finished. I actually read them in a pretty short amount of time. A book that I'm currently reading, and a book that I bought because of another book. So the first book is Close to Shore by Michael Capuzo. It's the terrifying shark attacks of 1916. This follows a shark up the coast of New Jersey in the summer as it killed 4 people and maimed at least one other, I believe. I probably should know that. I just finished it. I found it terrifying because it's a true story. While Jaws is scary in its own way, this actually happened. The interesting thing is that it's covering New Jersey, where I've lived in New Jersey, well before it was built up. This is 1916. This is when they've just started really, stuff is floating into the shot. It's not really built up on the shore yet. Americans, really around the world, but Americans especially, don't really go to the shore, don't go to the beach yet. It's not considered dignified, and people don't really know how to swim. People don't grow up learning how to swim. They're wearing one-piece bathing suits for men and women that cover quite a bit, and if you thought about showing a little more thigh or leg above the knee, you would probably be arrested. So it's a very interesting period. Essentially, the shark is going around killing people, and it kind of culminates with attacks through a large stream or a large creek in the northern part of New Jersey. Kids playing in the creek, and one kid gets eaten in half. So the fact that it's a true story is pretty intense. At the time, people didn't believe that sharks attacked people. There were like stories from fishermen, whalers, but the general consensus was sharks did not swim where people swam along the beach. They did not attack people. They didn't like the taste. They also had very weak jaws, and they were stupid, and just a lot of misconceptions about sharks. So Close to Shore, loved it. Not sure if I would have gone to the beach this summer had I read that sooner. I would have gone to the beach either way. The next one is The Dry by Jane Harper. This I loved. It was recommended by most of the Aussies I know on BookTube. So I want to thank Paige at Pages with Paige, Mel, I forget Mel's channel, and Crystal Bond something. I should have looked this up before I said this. I asked basically, what is a good Australian author and book? And everyone during a live sprint said The Dry by Jane Harper, which is actually a movie now too, from last year with Eric Bana, who I did not realize was Australian. So, and I just watched that movie and it was very good. So this follows a federal police officer from Melbourne. He grew up in a small town 5 hours away from Melbourne, but he left because of something that happened 20 years ago. I don't want to ruin it for you. It's really small town politics. Small town. If you live in a small town, you probably know. Everyone knows everything. Everyone's in everyone's business. There are good aspects of being a small town. There are bad aspects. There's a murder, what looks like double murder-suicide. The mother and father of the person who they believe did this call in Aaron because he was a boyhood friend of the person that did it, to take a look at some of the books. He investigates financial crime. It really follows kind of him returning home and revisiting some painful past memories, and then trying to solve a case in an unofficial capacity. And he's working with a local sergeant. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. I burned through it. I think it was like 2 days, which for me is very fast. And because of how much I like this, I went out and bought Force of Nature, the next Jane Harper book. Find what they do is at the end of this book, they give you, hey, get a little taste of the next book. And then you read some pages, and then you're like, oh shit, I should buy that. And that's exactly what I did. They look the same, which is cool. I don't usually care about that, but it is nice to have them kind of look the same. They have a nice little texture on the... What am I reading right now? I have mentioned this before. I actually started it. I am reading The Great Sperm Whale. This is a natural history of the ocean's most magnificent and mysterious creature by Richard Ellis. I have gotten really into sperm whales because I read Jaws, The Revenge, which has a bull sperm whale in it. That led me to a book called Sounding by Hank Searles, who also wrote Jaws 2 and Jaws the Revenge. One of the main characters was a sperm whale, a bull sperm whale. I loved that book. From that, I was like, I want to learn more about sperm whales, and I really want to learn the real stuff. How much of what I'm reading is true, how much of it is fiction. So this is the real stuff. 55 pages into it. I like it. It's definitely... It's more of an educational, I don't know, say text. There's funny stuff in it too. Richard Ellis also paints, so this is his original painting. He has a lot of paintings. One thing I've already learned is in the second or third chapter, it talks about Herman Melville's Moby Dick, which is a classic, although it was a failure when it first came out. It actually took years to catch on. It wasn't until the early 1900s, and we're talking like 1929, 1930, 1935-ish, that it became a classic, and maybe a little bit later than that. But it has inspired a number of movies. It's inspired a lot of plays and operas. But one of the things I found out pretty early on in this book is the musician Moby. His name is Richard something. I don't know his last name, but his middle name is Melville, and he claims to be related to Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick, and his band's name is Moby, which is kind of cool. I did not expect to hear something like that in a book about sperm whales. I'm enjoying it. It's one of those books that I don't read often, but I really like when I do. It's when I get hooked on some subject. So this is sperm whales. I'm learning so much, even beyond just sperm whales, whaling, the whaling industry. I think I would have thought that the whaling industry peaked in the late 1700s, early 1800s. It really peaked in 1960 before whaling was banned. So that is what I'm reading. That's it right now. I'm going to do Force of Nature after I do The Great Sperm Whale. I have one financial book that I've kind of like had sit there for a while. I'm like 18% into it. I do want to check that off and get it out of there. It's just very dry, but I'm not going to not finish it. So that at some point is going to come back up. I really don't think I need to do a vlog of what's happening with this. I mean, I'm happy to talk about what I learned, but there's much better sources for sperm whale information than me. So I don't think that's something you'll get much out of. That's it. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you later. Have a good week.